back.
There you go.
It's light work, period. Light work.
Jasmine Walker.
Joshua Primo. Herbert Jones.
Welcome to a new season of Tide TV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Kira Goldstein, and Roll Tide. It's good to see you, Kira. It's been a couple of months since we last had Tide TV This Week, but now, new school year, new season.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We had some time off, got to watch some Alabama athletes in the Olympics, but I'm super excited to be back and ready for fall competition.
And it's official. Football season is upon us. The Alabama Crimson Tide football team returned to the practice field on August 6th to begin fall camp as the team prepares for the 2021 season. After a couple weeks on the practice fields at the Malmore Athletic Complex, the team entered Bryant-Denny Stadium for the first time during fall camp on Saturday as the Tide held their first scrimmage of the fall.
Let's take an all-access look at the Tide's first scrimmage in Bryant-Denny Stadium this past Saturday. After Saturday's scrimmage, the team had Sunday off before returning to the practice field on Monday. And during fall camp, the team practices Monday through Saturdays while taking the day off from the practice field on Sundays.
The Crimson Tide will have a total of 20 practices during fall camp before they begin the season practice schedule on Monday, August 30th. Let's hear Coach Saban's thoughts after the team's first scrimmage at Bryant-Denny Stadium this past Saturday.
All in all, we know we have a lot of work to do to improve as a team. And we're going to continue to do that. That's why we got to practice. And I think the players have to be very committed to, sort of a relentless standard of excellence that this team wants to aspire to. And that's going to come from every individual player on the team wanting to do that and doing the things they need to do it. So all in all, I'm not disappointed in where we are. When you watch the film, sometimes you learn different, but I'm sure every player will have the opportunity to sort of evaluate where they are and work hard to get better.
Looking ahead to the season, we have 3 games with TV broadcasts and kickoff times, and it all begins in Atlanta with the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic.
Alabama will take on the Miami Hurricanes in a rematch of the 1992 National Championship game. Tide and the Canes will kick off the season on September 4th in Atlanta. Game time set for 2:30 with the game televised on ABC. Alabama will have their home opener the following week as the Tide hosts Mercer at 11 on the SEC network. Crimson Tide will then open SEC play on the road in Gainesville as Alabama takes on the Florida Gators in a rematch of last season's SEC championship game. That rematch will take place on CBS at 2:30.
Alabama returns to Bryant-Denny on September 25th to host the Golden Eagles of Southern Miss. The Tide then opens the month of October at home once again as Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels come to T-Town. Alabama then hits the road for 2 consecutive weeks as the Tide travels to College Station to take on Texas A&M on October 9th and Mississippi State in Starkville on the 16th.
After that, the Crimson Tide will have 4 consecutive home games inside Bryant-Denny. The Tide hosts the Tennessee Volunteers on October 23rd and then will enjoy a bye week for the weekend of the 30th. The Tide will return to action on November the 6th as the LSU Tigers come to Tuscaloosa. Alabama then wraps up their home schedule with matchups against New Mexico State and Arkansas.
Alabama finishes up the regular season like usual as the Tide will take on the Auburn Tigers in the annual Iron Bowl. This year's contest will take place down on the plains in Jordan-Hare Stadium. The SEC Championship will take place at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta on Saturday, December 4th. It will be the 30th edition of the game and the 28th in the city of Atlanta.
The college football playoffs will begin on New Year's Eve. The semifinals will take place in the Fiesta and Peach Bowls, with the national championship game taking place on Monday, January 10th in Indianapolis.
And it won't be long now. We are just about 2 weeks away until the season kicks off for the Crimson Tide. I cannot believe it's almost here, Roger.
It can't get here soon enough, Kira, and the Crimson Tide begin the 2021 season the way they ended the 2020 season, on top of the college football world at number 1. Tide received 63 of 65 first-place votes from the coaches. Alabama was followed by Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Georgia in the coaches' top 5. Right behind Georgia at number 6 is Texas A&M. Florida Gators are just outside the top 10 at 11. LSU is 13th, with the Ole Miss Rebels rounding out the top 25.
The Associated Press has Alabama number 1 in their top 25 as well. The Crimson Tide received 47 of the writers' 63 first-place votes. The AP has their top 5 in a little different order. Oklahoma is 2nd, with Clemson behind the Sooners at 3. Ohio State is 4th, with Georgia at 5. And just like in the coaches' poll, Texas A&M is ranked 6th. Florida is 13th, with LSU coming in at 16th. And with fall camp back in full swing, that means the Crimson Tide's Barbershop is back open.
Yeah, Coach Saban has lined up several big-time guests to visit with the players while they get a fresh new cut. I'm kind of jealous.
Let's take a sneak peek at the first episode of this year's Barbershop series. This one with former Major League Baseball star Alex Rodriguez.
I also didn't see people of color wearing suits and ties like where I grew up, right? So it was either you're playing sports or you get into trouble, if you know what I mean, right? My whole life changed when I saw Magic Johnson. And I saw Magic Johnson wearing suits. I saw Magic Johnson making the transition from the basketball court. You grew up in LA, so you know, making that transition to the boardroom. And that gave me an incredible amount of confidence and hope that I'm like, well, man, if my hero Magic can do it on the basketball court, and now he can do it in corporate America, well, why can't I? It's just like sports. Like, I create this environment in my company, right? It would suck to play football. Think about it, like all I've never known, come to the locker room, put on my uniform, and go ball. And to me, I find it so sad that athletes, they're done at 30, they're done at 35, and they have this entire life, and they're not ready from what happens from age 30 to 80, right? And to me, I've always focused on the entire thing. So coming to a program like this, learning from a Saban, having people like us come around, great coaching staff, and this incredible environment. I mean, I've always thought about like life after football, life after baseball. So that was, I think, the biggest difference. I wasn't any smarter. I wasn't anything, but I just had the vision and the will, and I actually enjoy it. So if you don't enjoy it, you know, shouldn't do it.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
In a season of chaos,
you can tell they authentically play for each other.
Alabama does it. Absolute perfection. How good can the Crimson Tide be again in 21?
It just doesn't show any sign of slowing down.
It's all about the process.
It's more than a buzz at Bryant Denny.
This guy's not going anywhere. He doesn't just roll out great players. He and his staff develop them.
Bama's dominance shouldn't scare you. It should energize you.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. Before the break, we shared with you a promo for a recent Barbershop episode with former Major League Baseball star Alex Rodriguez. Rodriguez was one of several that Coach Saban had come to Tuscaloosa during fall camp.
While the team is constantly trying to get better on the field, Coach Saban also tries to help the players improve off the field as well. One of the ways he does that is by bringing in several different speakers with various backgrounds and life experiences. Let's take an all-access look with the Crimson Tide as they heard some very powerful and inspirational messages.
Good to be here to spend some time with y'all. Alex Rodriguez.
I'm here to share some of the experience that I've had in a lot of my experiences, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We won the World Championship in '09, and I'm gonna talk about why we didn't win in 2010. Great players, great teams are always anticipating what's next and putting yourself in a position to win. Positioning in football, in business, in parenting, in everything is everything. You guys have a ginormous target on you. 2009, we won the World Championship. Everyone showed up on time, enthused, hungry, humble, ready, gritty. 2010, we weren't paying attention anymore. You know, Coach liked to say, not everybody can be a Yankee. Not everybody can play here.
Tonight we have a very special guest. Say hello to Alex Smith.
When I first broke my leg and I was laying on the field, I was like, oh, well, the doctors will put me back together. You know, I'll be ready. I knew the season was over. We were kind of past the halfway point. But I was thinking about spring ball. You know, you hear about broken bones all the time. I'm like, 6 to 8 weeks, I'll be back. Obviously, when the infection set in and it got really crazy and they're talking about cutting off my leg to save my life, it flips, right? I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about my wife. Are we ever going to be able to go do the things that we've always done together? And I felt like that all got taken away from me. And I really felt like in that moment, the best of my life was behind me. I'm proud that I made it back out on the field, but I'm really more proud of what got me there. Not the physical journey, but the mental one. You know, I learned that so much of the anxiety that holds us back in life, it's self-inflicted. We make it worse on ourselves.
NBA on TNT and TBS, Ernie Johnson.
When Nick Saban asks if you would come and speak to his football team, yes and no, not the answers. What time is the answer. When you step away from your agenda and notice that there are moments that can make somebody's life better. That's all I try to teach teach my kids. When you wake up in the morning, how am I going to make somebody else's life better today? Be a better human. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Love you too.
TideTV This Week is presented by Ford. For great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
What you do every day matters. At Alabama, it's our process that yields legendary results. This is where ideas forge innovation, dreams unleash opportunities, and contenders become champions. How far do you want to go? The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Welcome back to TideTV This Week. I'm Kira Goldstein, joined by my co-host, Roger Hoover. And the Alabama men's basketball team had an incredible season, winning both the regular season SEC championship and the SEC tournament championship.
Tide also made it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2004. Coach Oates and the Crimson Tide also made history with back-to-back NBA draft lottery picks for the first time in program history. Kyra Lewis Jr. was selected with the 13th pick by the New Orleans Pelicans in 2020, and Joshua Primo was selected this year with the 12th overall pick by the San Antonio Spurs.
That wasn't all. Herb Jones was drafted in the second round as he went to the 35th overall to the New Orleans Pelicans. It was the first time since 1995 that Alabama had two players selected in the same draft.
And Jones also signed the second largest contract ever for a second-round pick. Way to go, Herb. Congrats on the contract and congratulations to both Josh and Herb on being drafted.
What an incredible season it was for the Alabama men's basketball program. You know, Roger, Joe Lunardi has already had the Crimson Tide projected as the #1 seed for next year's NCAA tournament. It's got me pretty excited. I can't wait to see what they accomplish this upcoming season.
Well, Kira, the Tide has already been hard at work preparing for this season. Coach Oates and the team recently completed a 3-day retreat, if that's what you want to call it, at the Soggy Bottom Lodge in West Alabama. Let's go all access with the Tide as they work together to get better this offseason. 13. Yeah!
We gotta make a decision. Where are we? Is that where we are? I think now we're right here.
Man, that's what's kicking me, coach.
In a season of chaos,
you can tell they authentically play for each other.
Alabama does it. Absolute perfection. How good can the Crimson Tide be again in 21?
It just doesn't show any sign of slowing down.
It's all about the process.
It's more than a buzz at Bryant Denny.
This guy's not going anywhere. He doesn't just roll out great players. He and his staff develop them.
Bama's dominance shouldn't scare you. It should energize you.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. Football isn't the only sport getting ready for fall competition, as soccer and volleyball open their season this week.
And to talk about the upcoming soccer and volleyball season for the Crimson Tide, let's hear from Crimson Tide soccer head coach Wes Hart and the volleyball head coach Lindsay Devine.
Overall, pretty happy with where the group is at. We've got 29 players on our roster, 15 of them returning, and that means 14 new faces. So kind of a lot. And so for us to try to get everyone integrated in and get to know each other, it's kind of been the priority for our preseason. But I think overall we're in a good place. Trying to put all the pieces together. But overall, really pleased with what we have. You know, in any sort of team sports, you know, that camaraderie and that that bonding that takes place on and off the field is so incredibly important for us to be able to, eat meals together and do team meetings, things that we weren't able to do a year ago. I think is key, especially when we're introducing so many new players.
I'm looking for our team to build upon the things that we had put as far as our goals last year. We learned a lot, but now we're walking into a new season, and you never know what's going to be thrown at you. So this game of uncertainty, that's kind of what the volleyball court is like all the time. So we're going to take those experiences and those learning moments and bring them into this year. We're going to play with an energy and a grit that makes us wear down our opponents, which I thought that we did last year.
What you do every day matters. At Alabama, it's our process that yields legendary results. This is where ideas forge innovation, dreams unleash opportunities, and contenders become champions. How far do you want to go? The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. You know, what a year it was for the Crimson Tide. Following one of the best seasons in program history, Alabama Athletics was named Best in College Sports by CBS Sports for 2020-2021.
So for this week's very special ATI Plays of the Week, it's the entire 2020-2021 season for the Crimson Tide. The Crimson Tide won the honor by scoring 583 points, followed by Oklahoma in second place with 473. Alabama's 110-point margin was one of the largest margins of victory in the history of this award.
18 of the Tide's 21 teams advanced to the national postseason competition, with football winning the SEC and the national championship. Men's basketball, gymnastics, and softball all won conference championships. Crimson Tide also had several individual national titles in cross country, gymnastics, swimming, and track, among other national and conference award winners.
Very impressive. And now for our Legacy of Hope Players of the Week, we turn to the Olympics, where the Crimson Tide had 5 former and current student athletes win Olympic medals. Ramona Verchel earned gold as part of Jamaica's 4x100 meter relay contingent running in the qualifying heats.
Former Crimson Tide softball standout Haley McClinney helped the USA softball team earn a silver medal.
Former New York Yankee and current Tampa Bay Rays reliever David Robertson helped the United States baseball team take the silver medal in Tokyo.
While current Crimson Tide swimmer Ryan White led Team USA to a silver medal as she led off the event in the 400-meter medley relay.
And running for Grenada, Karani James became the first Olympian to win 3 medals in the men's 400 meters, taking bronze in Tokyo after winning gold in 2012 and silver in 2016.
Those were our Olympic medal winners and Legacy of Hope Players of the Week.
We also had several other athletes competing in various sports, so big congratulations to all of our current and former student athletes. Well, Roger, it has been great to be back in the studio with you, and I'm really excited for a new season of TideTV this week.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back as well. You know, Kira, because we're back, that means football is almost back as well. We're about 2 weeks away from Alabama kicking off the season in Atlanta against Miami.
A big Roll Tide to that, and a big Roll Tide to everyone watching at home.
And tune in next week as we bring you more on the Crimson Tide and the all-access content you can't find anywhere else. See you next week, everybody. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.